Hello, I'm Leroy Garcia, and this is Blue Rain Gallery Podcast. Today in the studio we have with us a wonderful artist extraordinaire in Frank Buffalo Hyde. Welcome to the studio, Frank.
Thank you. I appreciate you inviting me. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, and welcome to the gallery. We really appreciate you taking a chance on us and working with us. I've been watching your work for a few years, and I really love it. But before we get into what makes it all great and all that, let's talk a little bit about you. Tell me about your family, where you come from, and then get into a little bit of your schooling. How did you become an artist, and what inspired you to become an artist? Things of that nature.
Sure. I was born here in Santa Fe at the old Indian Hospital in 1974, and I spent 3 or 4 years here, and then my parents split up, and then I went with my mother to the Onondaga Indian Nation in Syracuse. And after that, I would spend equal time with my mother and equal time with my father out here in the summertime. So very much did grow up in both places in Syracuse and Santa Fe. So it gave me a really well-rounded perspective of indigenous life and, sort of the contrast of living on a sovereign nation, and then also living in the mecca of a contemporary native art. So going out through the years, my family's filled with artists on both sides, not just my father. My mother is a modern dancer. My uncles were all in the art field. One of my uncles was a draftsman for the Air Force, and they're all musicians, and everybody's good at art. So it was kind of always going to be part of my life. But I resisted it. As a young person, you always like, no, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to carve my own path. Like I gotta do this. So I started out being a musician. Had a band in Central New York. It was an all native band. We played blues rock originals, only like 4 covers because they were too hard to learn. So then we ended up doing pretty well. And then after that, after having like gas station attendant jobs after high school, I decided I would come back to Santa Fe and go to IAIA and try to do something with my life. But I came back for creative writing, though. I got into the writing program and still was resisting being a painter. I was like, no, I don't want to be an artist, and there's too many artists in the family. But slowly but surely, I started spending more time in the painting studios. And but honestly, what I've learned about art, I've learned from working in other artist studios and, doing it, being in the field.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just immersing yourself. I know from doing art myself, it's about practice every day. And you have to be able to focus and dedicate that time. So that's real cool. I first became familiar with you by meeting your father, a great Native American sculptor. And his name's Frank Hyde, and he's shown here in Santa Fe forever, I think, right? Since Alan Hauser. And he probably is a graduate of IAIA.
Well, Doug, actually, and he...
Or Doug, sorry. Yeah, Doug, sorry.
That's the other thing I didn't say about the Institute of American Indian Arts. I'm an IAIA baby. My mother and father both attended school there, so there's multi-generations of kids that have parents that met there and were made there. So he definitely was a student there when they were in the golden age, air quotes, and he went back and taught for, I think, a year, or maybe a year after Alan retired. But yeah, so it's been interesting to grow up and see someone like one of your role models navigate the art world.
Yeah.
And I was able to sort of avoid some of the pitfalls of just by watching what he did and didn't do. But
well, it's hard. If you're not, it's one thing to become an artist, but it's another thing to navigate through the career of being an artist.
Absolutely.
Right. And I think that's what you're talking about, because I see those pitfalls. I've been in the business now 30 plus years, 32.
Congratulations.
That's why I have no hair left. Yeah. So tell me, who's your biggest inspiration as far as other artists? What do you like about other artists, and who has inspired you the most?
That is a difficult question, and I think for me it changes. It's changed over the years. Definitely when I was younger, I was inspired by all of the 20th century modern artists like William de Kooning and Jasper Johns and Rauschenberg, Warhol. Also inspired by German expressionist painters, and of course, there's the Native American artists, contemporary Native American artists like T.C. Cannon, Earl Biss, and Fritz Scholder. But those people were very real people to me because they were friends of my father's, contemporaries of my father. So those people actually spent time in the house with me when I was a kid. I was surrounded by their work. Some of them had gifted me work when I was little, and in a very real way, they're like uncles to me. So they kind of a lot of people have the idea of the icons they became in the art field, but I have more grounded memories and ideas of who they were as people, as well as the art that they made. So it really inspired me in a way that I knew that art could be social commentary as well, and not just matching the couch.
So when did you start developing this particular style that we're looking at today, which is a mixture of contemporary figurative work that's commercial with native influence around it?
It's, I think I've been doing this for almost 25 years professionally. I had my first charcoal drawing show in Syracuse when I was like 18. It's just a culmination of doing the studio work, just being in the studio, and I'm constantly revising my process, adding and subtracting, different techniques and subject matters. And I'm always on the lookout, trying to get out of my own way and not make a painting and say, that's not a Frank Buffalo Hyde painting. I can't do that. I really try not to limit myself that way. Having said that, I'm not one of those artists that thinks that everything that I do is amazing. I mean, I'm pretty critical, and once my work does get out into the world, it's usually gone through a pretty rigorous editing process, with myself and my family. And, my wife and my daughter are brutal too. They're super honest.
Well, you need that, right?
Yeah. And then it's just like, my daughter comes in like, oh, that's awful. Oh, nope, that's the wrong green. Like, I was doing a Hulk painting one time and she was like 4. She came down the stairs and she's like, Daddy, that's the wrong green. And she started, and when walking out of the room, and I sat there looking at it, and I was like,
talk on it.
Yeah, she's right. Damn. I was like down there changing the Hulk color really fast. But yeah, so that's great. I mean, I think, having a family has really accelerated and allowed me to be more successful, because you need that ground. You need that stability to keep you moving forward, if that makes any sense. I had a career, before I had a family, but those times when I was single, I was, preoccupied with other things and not necessarily concentrating on painting. So like you said before, I've committed my life to this. I've dedicated my life to this, and I made a commitment early on that this is what I was going to do with my life, and that my goal is to improve. And I've been fortunate that every year I've been able to, sort of advance in some way, like museum shows or gallery representation or sales or techniques. So it seems like yesterday, but it seems like forever also.
Yeah. Well, something else I wanted the audience to know, Frank was born with some disabilities, without an arm and a leg. And how have you been able to overcome the disabilities to become a great artist?
Well, I mean, we have to go back a little bit to when my father left high school, or he left the Institute of American Indian Arts. He went to the Santa Fe Art Institute. T.C. Cannon went there also. And they both decided that they were going to enlist in the Army because they were tired of starving. They would go to parties and just fill up bags of food and, just hang out and just so they could eat. So they figured if they went in the Army, they would at least be fed, and then, they could come back and go to college after. So my father did 2 tours of duty in Vietnam and was exposed to Agent Orange, the defoliant. They would spray it on the jungle to kill it so that we could see, the enemy clearer. And as a result of that, I was born with a congenital birth defect, my arm below the elbow and above my knee. So I've been underestimated from day one. I was born, at the Indian hospital, they wanted to put me in an institution. They told my mother that I would never have a normal life. And they were totally correct. I've had an extraordinary life. But so she said, hell no, we're not putting him in an institution. And that kind of really set the tone for my life and my childhood. I've been out experiencing life and living life just like everyone else. And, I was so obsessed with being like everybody else. I didn't realize that I was not. I mean, I was extraordinary in different ways. Yeah. So I would concentrate on those positives. And but being a marginalized artist in the art world, like an artist of color or a native artist, is hard enough. But then to be a person with a disability in those markets, it's even more tough. So for a long time, I didn't let a lot of people photograph me. My work was out there for almost 15 years without people really knowing that I was making it. And when, slowly, when people started finding out, they were super surprised. And, because I'm not the kind of person that's the first thing out of my mouth, like, hi, I'm Frank Buffalo Hyde. I'm an artist. It's just not, that's not how I am. I'm not, pretty chill about it. I'm not, screaming it from the rooftops because, I've been fortunate that my career and my work speaks for itself. And, the museum collections that I'm in and the collaborations and the books and everything that I've done is it's there. It's a permanent record. And I've, accomplished a lot of things without even thinking of myself as a person with a disability. And it's only these days where I'm in a position to put a spotlight on those issues that I am lending my art, my voice to different causes for people with disabilities, because we need an advocate that people will listen to and take seriously. So there is still a lot of work to do for people with disabilities. It's just, simple access. It's number one, it's a right-handed world, and number two, not everything is handicap accessible everywhere.
Right. Yeah. Well, today we had to apologize to have you walk up the stairs, right? We don't even have an elevator in here. That sucks. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of people who sure would like to come up the stairs. It's hard. Well, you've been an inspiration to many people, Frank. I actually looked at your work first. I didn't even know you had disabilities, and so but that's what you're talking about, right? Be known for your messaging and your skill level. For those of you who want to know a little bit more about Frank, you can go to our website under our blogs, and you can look at a Colores video that was made on him. How old was that video?
I think that 2017.
2017.
I think
so. It's fairly fresh, but it gives people a good idea. So if you get a chance, go to our website, blueraingallery.com, and learn more about Frank. And there's a lot of great images superimposed through that interview, and I like that as well. He's pretty diverse in his subject matter and diversity. I like what I'm seeing in the Native art movement. It's more going like this, I think. So you're pretty much a forerunner to the style. I think David Bradley would be the first one I probably recognize as far as starting that Native scenes or Native people and contemporary scenes, and then we just picked up Ryan Singer and you. I think you guys are great artists and you're great voices for the contemporary Native art movement. And I think it's starting to get recognition. I was looking at the museums that you're in. Why don't you tell us a few of your favorite museums that your works are in?
Thank you. I appreciate that. And Ryan is an amazing artist. I've, always loved his work. He's a great person as well. And it's very rare that you can have someone that is similar-minded and like-minded that you can, talk to and not have to be competitive with. So he's an amazing dude. But I'm in the Museum of Contemporary Native Art, the Museum of Indian Arts and Culture, the Wheelwright, the Smithsonian National Museum of the American Indian, recently the Mead Museum at Amherst, and the Everson Museum in Syracuse, New York, just to name a few. But I'm like I said, I was very fortunate. I'm still very fortunate to be that those people are interested in my work and they sort of get what I'm after. And what you said about the contemporary Native art movement is, it's definitely taking all the contemporary influences of, what pop life is and what modern life is, and then reconfiguring it and using it just to show a glimpse into sort of how we're influenced by the same things that everybody else is, and that not everything has to be so culturally centered or have some sort of cultural knowledge dispersed in it. So I mean, I think that's what you're seeing.
Well, yeah, and I think the museums are finally waking up to the beauty of the native cultures and their art, and because we've seen a huge increase of museums collecting native art from our gallery in large amounts. Chris Papan and Star Hardridge included, and not to mention Preston Singletary in a different medium. I mean, that guy's really paving the path.
Oh yeah, I like Preston. He's an awesome dude.
Yeah, he's a blessing to us here at Blue Rain. We love working with him, but we're going to love working with you too. And so we hope that this is going to be a long journey and can hang tough together through the thick and the thin. Because art market.
Oh yeah,
it's up and it's down. It's never. I wish it was like that, right? We can just plan that out. And some artists get lucky that way.
Yeah,
but most people, it's a struggle.
It can be. I mean, it took the pandemic for me to really reevaluate my goals. And, I've had a full-time, part-time job the whole time until the pandemic. And then I'm a full-time artist as of, 2020. And it's going way better than I expected. And it's been amazing. So it's, I understand what the struggle is. And like I tell people, I've shown in every coffee shop between Santa Fe and Syracuse and every library. And for years, I would say yes to everything, but now, as you get older, you're able to pick and choose and say no once in a while. It still feels weird, but and then I remember, Blue Rain Gallery in Taos and here, I've always come and checked out what you've done in your galleries and the artists that you've carried. So you've also been an inspiration in my career and something to aspire to. So to be actually in the gallery is a pretty amazing thing for me, and I'm looking forward to the show in August. And I think the main point and what I really am picking up on with what you're doing with your artists is that there's a positive movement of contemporary Native artists that are moving forward and just pushing the envelope because it's the work they like to make, and it's all done in a positive way. It's not didactic and it's not militant. But at times it can be, but not. It's more effective when people are all moving in the same direction collectively, and not, being super competitive with each other.
Well, I thank God for your father's generation, the T.C. Cannons, Doug Hydes, and great artists of that generation paved the way for that, paid the price for that voice to grow. And you guys are really doing fantastic, and I like it. It's some of it's raw, but it's great. This is good messaging.
Thank you. No, I always am thankful for all of the artists. Not just the contemporary ones, but even the ones that still do the more traditional Native American arts. I love a lot of that work. It's very well done, and I collect some of it. And it's without them as well, we wouldn't have such a well-rounded, strong market that feeds into each other.
No, for sure. Well, Blue Rain has had a good balance on that for a long time. Yeah. So, Frank, thanks for coming in today and spending a little time with us. We are looking forward to his show. He'll be showing with us during our Indian Market Week. I'd like to encourage everybody to come and check it out. We'd like to also invite everybody to sign up for our podcasts on any of the platforms you prefer. You can also catch these podcasts on our website, blueraingallery.com, under the main menu and podcast. I'd like to also encourage people to visit our other website, bluerainprintshop.com. Take art into your everyday life. Thanks. Thank you, Frank.
Thanks for having me.